Facebook ads are a complete waste of time if your email marketing is bad. Okay. In this video, I will go over why you are quite literally wasting money on meta ads if you don't have a proper email marketing system dialed in and in place. I'm going to explain to you every element that goes into having a good email marketing strategy with real examples, real client results from e-commerce brands that I work with on a daily basis. You're also going to leave this video with a much better understanding of just how important of a role email marketing actually plays in your overall client acquisition as an e-commerce brand. I'm also going to tell you exactly what to do about it. So let's get into it. Who am I? If you've never watched one of my videos before, welcome in. My name is Philip Moldovanu. I am the co-founder of an email marketing agency working specifically with e-commerce brands. I've directly added over $15 million in revenue for my clients, and I've managed the email marketing for brands ranging in size from anywhere from 50 grand a month to $1 million a month. Pretty much seen it all. Most of the brands I speak with on a daily basis here, they understand email marketing is important. They know that they should be doing it, but they don't quite understand just how important it really is in their overall sales funnel as a brand. So I'm going to break that down for you guys. Now, table of contents here. We already covered the first two. So first of all, what does your brand look like with bad email marketing? Okay, we're going to start there. We're going to talk about some signs that you have bad email marketing because it might be hard to tell. What does good email marketing actually look like? I'm going to show some examples there and show real results there. Then I'm going to talk about the three pillars. What makes a good sign-up form? What makes good email flows? What makes good campaigns? Okay, I'm going to talk about all those, break them down. And finally, I'm going to end off with some real client before and after screenshots to show you the power of email marketing and show you how quickly it can increase your revenue. So let's get into it. So this right here is what your brand looks like with bad email marketing. It's actually a pretty accurate representation. So your brand without proper email marketing, and when I say proper, I mean very dialed in flows, killer sign-up form, and a consistent campaign schedule. I'll talk about all this in a second. Your brand is essentially a leaky bucket. That is what your brand is, okay? So this is how it typically goes from what I've seen talking to brand owners. So you're spending money on Meta to bring people to your site, right? You're giving Zuck all this cash to generate site traffic. Now, the average e-commerce conversion rate, as we know, is anywhere from 2 to 5%, depending on the brand, depending on the industry. Could be more or less, but moral of the story there, the majority of people who visit your site are going to leave without purchasing anything. And a lot of those people are just going to leave and never come back to your site ever again, never interact with your brand ever again. So if you want to ever get in front of these people ever again, you basically need to cough up even more of your spend to Mr. Zuckerberg and pay to get in front of them again. Okay, so you're essentially spending more and more money to get in front of them again in hopes that they just magically convert this time around. That's kind of what I see talking to a lot of brand owners, and it's just not sustainable, okay? And it's very stressful. I'm going to talk about where email actually comes in. So hypothetically, and what we do with all of our clients to kind of break this down, obviously it gets more complicated than this, but this is just to keep it simple. We're going to collect the email addresses of anywhere from 8 to 12% of our site visitors, okay? A lot of those people would have otherwise left without purchasing anything, okay? Then we're going to send them through a very robust welcome flow that delivers some type of offer. It doesn't have to be 10% off, doesn't have to be anything crazy. A lot of brands don't like giving discounts. You can do an enter to win raffle. You can do free shipping, right? It can be something like that. Moral of the story, have an offer that people actually care about. So you're going to give them an offer, you're going to educate them on the product, and you're going to explain why you are the best option on the market, okay? You're going to build trust with the shopper. That is what you do in a welcome flow. I'll break this down further, okay? Now, once they're in the welcome flow, we're going to convert about 10% of the people in the flow into a paying customer. The placed order rate on that welcome flow should be about 10%, okay? Now, once these people have purchased, we're going to send them through your post-purchase flow where you basically thank them, you welcome them to the family, and you upsell them very slightly, okay? Now, once they've been through that journey, they're now officially a customer. We're going to send out consistent campaigns to stay top of mind with these people, right? So the next time they're in the market for whatever you sell, they're immediately going to think of you. They're not going to go anywhere else because you've been staying in front of them. You've been building this relationship with them, and they just instantly are going to purchase from you again. And over time, you will see that LTV of your customers slowly go higher and higher and higher. That is the power of email, okay? It's also extremely profitable because you own your email list outright. You don't need to pay Zuckerberg to sell and get in front of these people, right? You own them. Okay, so that is why it's so important. Let's talk about some signs that your brand has bad email marketing, okay? So again, I talk to a lot of brand owners, and this is typically what is the case when talking to them, right? So they typically have a sign-up form live, okay? So they think they're doing good, but when I come to find out, they haven't really touched the form in months, and sometimes you'd be surprised they haven't tested it in years, right? It's just been sitting there dormant for like a year plus. They haven't run any tests on it, okay? So that's the first thing. Second, they usually have like a couple flows set up. You probably have a welcome flow. You probably have like an abandoned cart flow, something like that. Maybe like an order confirmation flow I see a lot of. But you don't ever edit those flows. You don't ever tweak them. You don't ever test them, right? They're pretty much just there. And also they're too short and they also don't have the right content in them. I'll get into that in a little bit. You also are probably sending campaigns whenever you have time, right? So you don't have a consistent schedule and you're kind of just finding yourself sending campaigns whenever you get to it, right? Which only usually ends up being a couple times per month. Could be more, could be less. Moral of the story here, you don't have a consistent schedule with that, okay? Your open rates are probably not above 50% consistently, and your total email attributed revenue is probably less than 40%, okay? Any less than 40%, you're leaving sales on the table. All of my clients are anywhere from 40 to 60%, okay? So that is the unfortunate position that most e-commerce brands are in nowadays. That's where they're at before they really invest the time and the resources to really perfecting their email marketing. Most people that I talk to, they kind of treat email as more of like a chore rather than a really core component of their brand's growth strategy. Okay, and that's where they go wrong. So if that is you watching this video, listen up. I'm going to give you some really valuable stuff here. So this is what good email marketing looks like. These are 2 random screenshots I pulled from clients we work with. 54% of this brand's business is coming from Klaviyo or whatever ESP you use. Doesn't really matter. Klaviyo is the best in my opinion. Subtle plug there. 47% of this brand's total revenue coming from Klaviyo. Now, if we look at the actual split between revenue, right? Campaigns versus flows, it's pretty much an even split. That's what you want. If it's a healthy account, you're going to see about a 50-50 split between campaigns and your flows. Okay, so if you look at this account, pretty much the same thing, right? That tells me that our flows are up to standard and our campaigns are up to standard, right? They're working together in harmony, okay? If you see like 80% on the campaign side of things, that means your flows are very underdeveloped, okay? So that's another thing there. Now, moving into some technical stuff. So what actually makes a good sign-up form? Okay, that's the first thing I want to cover. So what's important to understand, the sign-up form is the single most important piece of your entire email marketing strategy. This is what grows your list. This is like the floodgates to your list. It's very important that you're capturing as much site traffic as possible into your list. So you want to be bringing as many people as possible into your ecosystem, okay? Once someone signs up for your email list, they have now entered your ecosystem where you nurture them into knowing you, into liking you, and ultimately into trusting you to become a customer eventually. So the goal here with the sign-up form is to convert about 8 to 12%, like I said, of your site traffic onto your email list. Most brands I audit, they have a sign-up form, they don't test it, and it's probably sitting around like 1 to 3% submission rate. So check your form right now and let me know where it is in the comments. But I'm willing to bet if you don't really invest much time into your email, it's probably around 1 to 3%, no more than 5%, okay? Now, here are some elements of a good sign-up form, okay? So number one, they have an offer that people actually care about, okay? So I hate to break it to you guys, but nobody is signing up to your list to receive, exclusive updates and early access and access to new product launches, right? People are selfish nowadays. They have short attention spans. They need to understand what's in it for them. So if you're not giving some type of offer, you're going to collect way less emails than you otherwise would have. Now, I'm not saying go out and offer 20% off, right? Some people don't like giving out discounts. Some people think it hurts the brand equity, which I understand, right? Not every brand can give a 10% off code, but I really recommend watch my sign up form video. I have literally like 5 or 6 different types of offers you could offer in a sign up form. You can do things like a discount. You can do things like a enter to win raffle. You can do some type of a mystery gift and then give them free shipping after they sign up, right? There's a million things you can do. You can get really creative with it, but moral of the story, give them something, give them some type of incentive to pique their curiosity and get them to want to sign up. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, second, a good sign up form presents the offer very, very clearly and directly, that is, okay? So you want to avoid as much clutter on the form as possible. The offer should be the only thing that they can focus on. If we look at this example here, and I'll get into it, notice how the offer is pretty much the biggest text on the screen. And there's not a whole lot of nonsense, join our list to receive exclusive updates and get a grip on how the brand is developing, right? Like, people don't like to see that. And to be honest, it doesn't move the needle forward in terms of collecting the email. So why include it, right? It just distracts people. So that's the second thing there. Also, make sure you're not showing the form too fast, okay? But also make sure you're not showing it too late. There's a kind of a fine balance between that. Typically what I've seen is 6 to 10 seconds performs the best for most brands. You also want to make sure you're using a micro commitment where basically instead of asking the shopper for their email address straight off the bat, you want to ask a very low commitment question first to lower their guard and get them engaged. Okay, once they've clicked yes or clicked whatever the button is, then you can ask for their email. So check this out right here. This is a form we built. We're not asking for the email up front. We're simply saying, are you shopping for female, male, or both? Now, you can't see it here because it's an image, but once they click one of the buttons, then it goes to the next slide. Then we collect their email. We're lowering the shopper's guard. We're getting them used to saying yes. We're getting them used to engaging with us. That is why that is so effective. That increases submission rate a ton. Okay. Also, make sure you're using a teaser. So basically, when you close out of the form, the teaser is the little smidget of the form that appears in the bottom left or the bottom right corner. Okay. You always want to make sure you have that, because if someone closes out of the form, you want to make sure that they can go back to it in case they change their mind. Okay. Again, only ask for one piece of information at a time. I see a lot of brands trying to collect email and first name and phone number all on the same slide. You never want to do that. Okay. You want to keep it simple, avoid decision fatigue. Okay. Make it very, very easy for them, and don't make things intimidating. One piece of information at a time. And also, probably the biggest one on this entire list, you need to be testing your form constantly. And when I say constantly, I mean every week there should be some type of test running on your form. We have clients doing 15%, 17% submission rates. That doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes a while to slowly build up and get that form converting at 15%, right? So that is sign-up forms. So what makes good email flows? Okay, the next step, right? So email flows are all automated, as you know. They trigger based on certain behaviors that a shopper takes while on your site. So because of this, we're able to get very, very specific with our communication to these people, since we have actual data on what they've done in a recent time frame. So like I said, flows will make up about half of your total email revenue if you're doing it properly. These are the 6 core automations. I have a whole other tutorial on these automations, how to set them up, how to install them, what to put in each flow, diagrams of each flow on my YouTube channel if you want to see that. But these are the core 6. So there's a welcome flow, which should be about 6 to 8 emails long. This is triggered when someone signs up for your email list. The goal with this flow is literally just to nurture all of these fresh leads into purchasers. Okay. Next, we have the abandoned cart flow. It's again 6 to 8 emails long. This is triggered when someone adds a product to their cart and then leaves. They abandon their cart. The goal here is to recover the shopper and get them back to their cart and over the finish line. Okay. Abandoned checkout flow is kind of similar to the abandoned cart. Obviously a different trigger there. It's triggered when someone makes it all the way to the checkout stage of your site with a product, and then they all of a sudden leave. Okay, so that's a very, very high intent action. It's probably, yeah, it is. It's the highest intent action someone can take without purchasing. So that is a very, very key flow. Okay, and that's typically a big money maker. Now, next we have a browse abandonment flow, which is triggered when someone views a product on your site and leaves. The goal here is just to stay top of mind with them, get them back to the site. And your site abandonment flow, this is triggered when someone just visits the site and then ends up leaving. Okay, most brands forget this flow. It's not a huge revenue driver, but it will pick up a fair amount of additional sales every month. So it's just a no-brainer to include it. It takes, very minimal time to set up, and it will result, depending on your volume, a couple extra sales per month. And finally, we have a post-purchase flow. So this is a big one. Recently for our clients, we have been seeing the post-purchase flow almost make as much money as the welcome flow. Okay, which is very strange. Now, this is triggered when someone purchases a product. Okay, this is a very key flow. Our goal here is to capitalize on this feeling of euphoria that the shopper feels after they make a purchase, right? So, I don't know about you guys, but me personally, when I make a purchase and it's something that I really wanted for a long time, I'm excited, right? I have this kind of sense of happiness. I'm in a buying mood, right? So we want to attempt and take advantage of that and attempt a slight upsell. Okay. You don't have to be very pushy with it, but you can just simply show some extra products, add on to your order, that type of thing. Another big part of this flow is, the opposite of the buyer's euphoria is buyer's remorse. So a lot of people, after they make a purchase, unfortunately, maybe they're feeling some type of regret or buyer's remorse. Our goal with this flow is also to eliminate that, right? Reassure them on why they made the right choice. That is very, very powerful for this flow. Now here is, I'm not going to go over it because again, I have a whole separate video on this, but this is an example of a good abandoned cart flow. Okay, so as you can see, it's not just trigger and then 2 emails, right? It's pretty advanced. We have about 8 emails in it. Okay, there's multiple different splits. We split by, are they a past customer or not? What product did they actually have in their cart, right? You can get very granular with it and make these very tailored experiences for people depending on what they have in their cart or if they've purchased from you in the past, what action they've taken. That's the power of flows. And if your flows don't look something like this, again, you're leaving a lot of revenue on the table. And finally, what makes good campaigns? Okay, so most brands, they just really don't have a consistent schedule or a cadence when it comes to campaigns. this is losing them a ton of sales. Not only does it directly increase revenue to send more campaigns, but you're also building more of a relationship and a connection with your list, whether they realize it or not. Okay, so if you have a consistent campaign schedule, your list will just slowly get accustomed to seeing you in their inbox, and you will always be top of mind with them. Okay, so some elements of good campaigns. So first of all, a consistent schedule. You want to be sending bare minimum, I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care what niche you're in, 2 times per week, and sometimes 3 per week, depending on the brand and if your audience can handle that. Okay, so 2 per week, trust me, is not too much. We do that virtually across every single account that we manage, and it's never been a problem. Unsubscribes do not go up. 2 per week in today's day and age is really not much. Every brand is sending, honestly, a lot more than that. Next, you want to make sure that your campaigns are fresh, stimulating, and actually draw people's attention. Again, people have really short attention spans. They're in and out of things really fast. And you want to make sure your designs are actually engaging, right? People get bored very quickly, so you want to be switching things up, using different colors, using different layouts. Don't have the same template for every single email. A lot of brands that I audit, I'll go in their account and I'll look at their campaigns for the last 3 or 4 months, and I'll see that literally every single campaign was the same template, but just a different image swapped out and maybe some different copy, right? Do not be one of those brands, because that slowly will fatigue your list. They're going to stop caring, and you're going to stop being exciting to them. And eventually, they're just going to stop opening you and eventually just unsubscribe. Okay, so don't be that brand. Next, you want to make sure you have a good mix of promotional content and as well as value-based content, to build a connection with your list. Don't be the brand that only just spams promotions, because nobody likes that. Also, make sure you're sending to the right segments, so only send emails to engaged profiles on your list. Do not blast emails to your entire list. That will result in poor open rates, and over time, you are going to get thrown in the spam folder, so you don't want that. Also, again, make sure you're not recycling email designs. Every design should be fresh, I know that might be very time-consuming, especially if you're like a solo founder or if you have a small team, but that is if you want optimal performance, if you want to hit 50, 55, 60% of your business coming from Klaviyo, coming from email, you need to have every design be fresh, If you're running some type of huge sale, it's okay to send the same email maybe twice, but don't recycle the same templates, Now, next I want to talk about some client before and after screenshots. So these are real screenshots from a client that we recently took on. Now, this was them in January, January of this year. They were sitting at 17% of their overall revenue coming from Klaviyo. As you can see, only 40 grand a month attributed to email. If you look here, like I said, it's not 50-50. They were relying very heavily on campaigns. Their flows were very, very lackluster. They didn't really have much of a strategy there. Fast forward to literally 1 month later. Honestly, it was 26 days because we started on the 3rd of February. So we'll just call it a month for example purposes. We took them from 47 grand a month to $155,000 per month, 17% to 46% Klaviyo attributed revenue. And if we look here, it's getting better. It's not perfect, but more of an even split there. And if you look at their top line revenue also jumped a ton. And this was all done in a month. We did not spam any discounts. We did not just blast 20% off to their whole list for the whole month. This was done with no discounts and was done doing a 50-50 split between promotions and value. I have a whole video breaking down this account on my channel, so feel free to watch that. But that's the power of email. That is what can happen if you have a robust strategy in place, Finally, I want to talk about what I didn't cover in this video, So I did not talk about how to maintain deliverability and stay out of the spam folder. I did not talk about how to actually create beautiful emails that not only look good, but also convert at a very high rate, because there's a difference between a beautiful email and a high converting email, I did not talk about what tests to run in your account, what to test on your form, what to test in your flows, what to test in your campaign, as well as how to test them, I did not talk about the most common mistakes, the most common pitfalls I see when I do audits on e-commerce brands. And finally, I did not talk about how to use AI to speed up content creation as well as copywriting. Now, lucky for you, the reason I'm mentioning all this is because I have an in-depth video on literally each and every one of these topics on my channel if you want to check those out. So lastly, the last thing I'll say before I let you go here, I have a free newsletter all about email marketing where I basically share 2 to 3 times per week a lot of the tips, a lot of the strategies that I use with my clients, similar to this video, but much more in depth. So feel free to join that. Link will be in the description of this video. So that's really about it, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you want more email content, feel free to check out my channel. I post pretty much weekly on here. And yeah, let me know if you want to see anything particular in the comments. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.